Hey, what's up my people, this is IceRestrict12. Today I am bringing you a video with 5 tips to make you a better Yu-Gi-Oh player. These are tips that can be applied to other card games as well, but this is with Yu-Gi-Oh in mind. Because we are going to be talking about some ratios and some things that only pertain to Yu-Gi-Oh, but technically a lot of this stuff can apply to Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, etc. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started. Tip number 1. Card ratios. When building your deck, guys, when you're deciding how many copies of one specific card you're going to put in, for instance in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you go first, you get to draw 5 cards. So what are the possibilities of you actually seeing those cards? You know, you can have between 1 to 3 copies of a specific card. So if you run a card at 3, you have a 33.7% probability of seeing that card in your opening hand. If you run it at 2, it is a 23.7%. So it goes down by 10%. And if you run it at 1, you have a 12.5% of seeing that card on your opening hand. So when deciding how many copies of one card to play, keep in mind, how often do I want to see this card in my starting hand? But there's also other factors. So for instance, if the card is limited, of course you can only run 1. But if it's a card that is very searchable, then you might not want to run too many of them. So for instance, just to give you an example, the Zombie World deck, it depends a lot on Zombie World. But a lot of people won't play 3 copies of Zombie World, even though they depend on it, because you have other cards like Necroworld Banshee who can get you the Zombie World. So it is a very searchable card. So they would run other cards that can eventually get them a Zombie World right away, but wouldn't necessarily run 3 copies of Zombie World. This is also very important when side decking. The reason why is because, for instance, I played against people that game 2 will side one copy of a card for the match, and as expected, they rarely ever actually draw that card when they need it. So side decking, everybody's got their own style, their own way of doing it. But if I'm gonna play someone and I need a specific card, I'm running 3 of them, because again, the possibility if I'm putting it in is because I want to see it, and 3 copies will allow me to see that card. Now, tip number 2, guys, set your spells and traps on main phase 2. During main phase 1, during battle phase, a lot of things can happen, guys. And Yu-Gi-Oh is a very interactive game. You're gonna be doing things on your turn. Your opponent's gonna be doing things on your turn as well. So do what you gotta do. Main phase 1, go battle. A lot of stuff can happen during battle. Cards get destroyed, sent to the graveyard, banished, you name it. And then on main phase 2, then that's when you can set, alright, so I'm done with what I was going to do. Let me go ahead and set these cards that are going to help me stop my opponent during his turn. A lot of times when you set them, we all did this at one point. We set them during main phase 1 just for the card to get destroyed by something that blows up your entire back row or something like that. So those cards that you're going to use on your opponent during his turn, wait until main phase 2 to set them face down. Number 3. Alright guys, this is going to seem very common sense, but read your cards. I totally get it, guys. Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that has so much text in its cards. They explain, so many things, and sometimes it's kind of a headache, guys, and we understand. Trust me, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh since the early 2000s when it came out, and back in the day, cards were like 1 paragraph, max. Now, they explain it's a lot. Like, they explain you how to summon them, how to do their effects, and then what happens after their effects resolve. So there's so many things going on. But definitely take the time, guys, to read your cards. And one thing I've noticed is usually Konami is kind of making this a little bit easier for us by the way they arrange the text. So there's some exceptions, of course, but more often than not, the card text will go as follows. The first paragraph would be how to bring the card onto the field. It'll be something like, that you can special summon, or if this happens, then you can special summon this card. So usually the first paragraph will be something about how to bring the card on the field. The middle paragraph will be what the card does. Like, as long as this card is on the field, every other monster loses 500 attack. So something like that. And then the last paragraph would be something that happens upon destruction, or if they have graveyard effects, they would, this is usually towards the end when he tells you what they do in the graveyard. So, you know, they're kind of putting things in order, how to summon it, what it does, and then what happens if it's in the graveyard, if it applies. And then towards the end, you'll have something, it'll tell you like you can only use this effect once per turn and things like that. So they do kind of set the paragraphs in order, so it's a little bit easier for us to follow up. But please guys, read your cards. I cannot tell you how many games people, you know, throw out the window because you could have done something, but you just didn't read your cards. The next one, guys, play test online before buying cards. This is very important, guys. I know, you know, shiny cardboard, we all just want to have it in our hands right away, but guys, you know, with some of these cards, you're spending, you know, hundreds of dollars in this game. A lot of these cards easily go, you know, for $50, $100, $150. Before you make the investment, guys, before you decide to drop, you know, 1 month's rent into Yu-Gi-Oh, go online. There's a lot of platforms that are free in which you can find every available card, build your deck, play against the computer, play against other players, and really, you know, really test these cards. Be like, all right, is it worth for me to drop, you know, over $300 on 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet? Which in my deck, by the way, yes, it was really worth it. But you know, is the $300 investment worth it? And then play test, and if those cards are doing what they're supposed to do, great, get them. If not, you know, use that money for something else. All right, guys. So again, please play test online before buying the actual cards. Do yourself a favor. Do your bank account a favor. Trust me, it'll be better for everybody. And then the last one, guys, protect your investment. Goes back to point number 4. You know, we spend a lot of money, guys, in this game. Some of these cards are very pricey, so go out of the way, guys. Get your sleeves. Get some of the Yu-Gi-Oh now allows double sleeving your cards, so go and get the thin sleeves and then put it in a bigger sleeve. Protect your investment, guys. These cards, one cool thing about Yu-Gi-Oh that other card games don't do is that in Yu-Gi-Oh we have a ban list, meaning that some cards you're allowed to play some cards and you're not allowed to play some cards. But we don't have a rotation system, such as, for instance, Pokemon, which means that in Pokemon, you know, you can, well, there's certain formats where you can, but the main format, you can't play with cards that are more than 2 years older. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you can bust out right now a card that you got from, you know, from 2004, and as long as it's not in the ban list, it's still just as playable. So these cards, guys, they have a, you know, you can play them long after you get them, and depending on the format, they go up and down in price. So, you know, protect your cards, keep them in good condition. You're gonna be shuffling, playing, doing all kinds of stuff with these cards while you're at the tournaments. So protect your investment. A lot of these cards are pricey, and you want to make sure that they maintain their value in case you later on want to sell them. Alright, guys, and yep, that'll be it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comment section if what do you think, and again, if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, like, follow, and again, guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to these videos. It really means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy.